Everybody, welcome to episode, what is it, 4 of season 2 of Red Wings Rant, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network and your two favorite brothers, the Brothers of Discussion. Woo!
Hello!
Coming to you live every Wednesday night. It kind of seems like that might change soon, and Sunday morning to give you Sunday morning beer drinking terrible habits. And, of course, talk Red Wings hockey. This, of course, is where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings have a home. That's right here at Red Wings Rant. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us if you're, depending on where you're watching us right now, you can find us on Twitter at BOD Hockey. You can find us on YouTube as the Brothers of Discussion. We have our 2 playlists. Of course, this one for Red Wings Rant. Mike, our other playlist, Pro Wrestling. That's right. Check us out because we also have our Twitter at BOD Podcast if you want to follow along for all of our hot pro wrestling takes. We missed a huge wrestling night last night, so don't worry about Impact Wrestling or any of that New Japan stuff because we don't have the time.
Take that love somewhere else.
Yeah. It wasn't New Japan that was on last night. It was another one that people like.
No, there was anyways, NJPW, but I mean, look where our loyalties lie. Yeah.
Yeah. AEW.
Wait, there we
All right, so go check that out. What else do we have? We have our wonderful website at that's bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. There is also a link to our shop. And I just realized I forgot to put on my Red Wings rant sweatshirt, and instead I'm wearing my PJs. So my Star Wars t-shirt.
I mean, they're red. Yeah,
that's probably why I forgot, because it matches. But yeah, check all that out at bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. Mike, today we have Jack from J Fresh Hockey is going to be at the end of the show. So we're going to do a quick run through on everybody's favorite segments of Red Wings Rant, including our father, who loves to hear our hottest take on Rochester Mills beers. But before we do that, Mike, I think it's our favorite segment. First, it's Be the GM.
Oh. I thought you were going to say, who's that Pokemon? And that's my favorite segment. Who's that GM is pretty good, though. All right, what do we got on the docket?
Be the GM. Who's that GM?
That was what we played. You get to be the GM.
that's right. All right. Here we go. Mike, it's 1 month into the new season. Goalies are getting injured across the league. With Jonathan Bernier on the block, Yzerman is fielding offers daily. I can't. It's so tiny. Which offer should he take for Bernier? So essentially, the situation is here. There's so many injuries. We heard Jeff Blashill talking on what was it? Sportsnet, or maybe it was the NHL. What's the NHL Network? Jesus. And he said there wouldn't be an exhibition season. He said that multiple times in the interview. So, again, the scenario just seems like it could be so real now that there are going to be a ton of injuries. So here's our offers, Mike, so that other teams can feel.
I can actually read it if the font's too small. So
yeah, go ahead.
For Bernier, Matt, in this scenario.
Yeah.
Do you want to try and get? Now we're assuming these offers are on the table. Here we go. Second and a forward prospect. Second and a top 50 goalie prospect. A second in 2021 and 2022. So that's 2 second rounders. Or you just kind of hold out till the deadline and watch the desperate fools, throw something at you. You just punt. Or you have these readily available. Matt, in a landslide so far. Second and top 50 goalie prospect were the winners.
Yeah, I had to put in the top 50 goalie prospect because one, I had the space to do it, but I think that was really important because you don't just want to get any sort of prospect in there, and then we're not guaranteeing anything with the top 50 goalie. You actually see like the turnaround on that, the conversion rate is extremely low. Of getting a top 50 prospect from in that just really that position, and we know that the Red Wings are really lacking. So I think it would be really, I think you'd be able to sit there and Mike probably field some offers for just a younger goalie and really give that some serious consideration. But if you're getting a second round pick too, I'd take that as well. So here I am. I'm the guy who came up with the poll answers, but that should have won. I think that really is the best bet for the Red Wings right now, and I think it's hilarious that nobody wanted a forward prospect. And there were more people that would rather punt and wait for the deadline.
Yeah, I did think that was pretty funny too. Absolutely nobody, not one single vote for the forward prospect. And Matt, put in my 2 cents. I also don't want a forward prospect. I will say of these 3 options, holding out till the deadline, that's probably my option number 2. I'll say that. But a second in 2021 and 2022, Matt, I'm not super enamored of the second round. There isn't that many times that that you hit. And I'm not just saying the Red Wings. I'm saying in the NHL, you don't see a lot of top prize hogs in the second round. So I think the best scenario is if you're guaranteeing a top 50 goalie prospect. Yes, give me that. That's the only entity I'm excited about in these options. So that's me too. I'm joining the group at the 53% there.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's the problem with this is that I think where a week ago we got some pushback on getting rid of Darren Helm, I think everybody's okay. Like, we haven't formed a relationship, a real strong one with Bernie. I think we appreciate what he's done, but we're ready to move on because he's not the goalie of the future, and we haven't held on to it. We haven't had him long enough here. He doesn't have even Jimmy Howard had that. You had the strong emotions for him, even with the terrible season he had last year. Like, we still came back around and we're like, we still love you, Jimmy. Like, we still appreciate everything. So it really is like when you stand the test of time, that's when it becomes harder to say goodbye to these guys. But right now, I mean, it really just seems like everybody's ready to go. We didn't get those comments or the retweets of how we were gonna get killed for sending Darren Helm.
Daring to say, yeah.
But yeah, I think this is as good a time as any to move on because we are all pretty much in agreement, and I think we are. This is more or less just that highlight too that we are in desperate need of some more a surer. Can I say that surer goalie prospect instead of just picking up the
Eric Comrie.
What?
Eric Comrie.
Yeah.
He was a hot shot for us for a game. Remember him?
But yeah, we just want something that's more than just picking up the draft pick, the one draft
something
pick.
Something with a little more substance to it.
Beyond Bednash.
A little bit more of a proven entity. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So moving on, Mike.
We're rounding the toilet bowl on that one. All right, we're good. Is it beer time, Matt?
Yeah, I guess it's beer time. Everybody, each and every week leading up until the final beer, I was going to say till Christmas, but I haven't done the math yet. We're going to be drinking from Rochester Mills Milkshake Stout, 12 Days of Christmas box set. We've gotten through quite a few. We've had some burning ones in the last week in regards to even the gingerbread beer. They actually went pretty hard in a peppery way. And was felt the next morning while sitting on the old porcelain throne. But today, we're hoping to avoid the pepperiness because we're going straight into the Double Chocolate Milkshake Stout. I can only think that this is going to be all sweet. It's gonna touch the chocolate milk feel. If it's double chocolate, I have to believe that. But so far, Mike, just to kind of recap what we do here, we're tasting this for drinkability, which we measure in 2 different ways. Can you drink this all day, and is it just tasty? Because there are some beers that you can drink all day and they're disgusting. There's matching the flavor, so we want to match the double chocolatiness today, and then the can, which right now, Mike, gotta say, it's one of the better cans that we've pulled out of that box, at least from my perspective.
It's stunningly.
Get that out of the way. Yeah.
like it just takes me back to when we were young and we would help our mom with baking, and it was our job to apply the frosting, and we didn't make frosting. We would use that canned stuff that came out of like aisle 4 at Kroger. And this looks like a beautiful picture of the top of that can once you opened it, and there's that swirly, sweet, sugary, chocolatey goodness. I'm really excited to try this one because not only is it a chocolate milkshake stout, it's a double chocolate milkshake stout. Now, what I thought was going to happen when they listed the ingredients, it would just have 2 entries for cocoa nibs. But it turns out we have cocoa nibs and cocoa powder. So
that's how you get the double. Got it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm going to say this. We kind of already jumped into the can, so I'm going to get this one out of the way for me. I'm gonna give this one an 8.9 because it is very subtle, and we talked about liking subtlety, but it does sort of border on too subtle. But I still like it. Me knowing what it is, like if you took out the double chocolate milkshake stout labeling on here, there is some cause for concern of what else this big pile of chocolate could look like.
Ooh.
When you have the label, it works. So I'm going 8.9, and then I'm going to crack this sucker open and pour it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a give me an 8.7 on this one. I really like that nostalgia pull where I think I'm helping to bake in the kitchen. So I'm all over it. Matt, are we snapping these open now?
Hell yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right, I go to see. Oh, look at this. Now, the last couple of pours.
Matt likes a big old head.
Oh, yeah.
Matt will go on and on about beer head. Look at him.
This one's a little too big, so this might be getting a little old.
Overdoing it, double chocolate. Mine was all head. There was no drink in it.
All right, so the first sniffs here, they're very chocolatey, and this really bodes well for the scores that the can got a super high score already. All right, I mean the earthiness is completely gone, and I actually mean that in a good way. I mean I'm just getting chocolate. I'm not getting any sort of beery. I'm not getting flowery aromas. I'm getting like a thinner. It's like I'm drinking a thinner chocolate milk right now. Yeah, there's no earthiness to it like you would get. I mean, I'm just talking like straight up your stouty beer flavors. There's none of that there. This is just chocolate to me.
It's almost got a little bit for me of almost like a gusher effect, where the beer enters my face, and then once it kind of travels down your taste buds, you definitely get that chocolate splash going all the way down.
Yeah, that's the thing is, do you want that? I think ultimately we've said week after week, like chocolate absolutely is coming out of your stouts. So if you're getting double chocolate and you're getting this much chocolate and you're drinking a can that's called double chocolate, I think so far, Mike, we've gone over matching the flavor. This is right up there. I mean, even when I loved the peanut butter stout, I gave it a 7.9.
I don't know if I got to let mine breathe a little bit, but I still got some earth in my can.
Oh, maybe you got to make a bigger head next time. Get yourself a bigger head, Mike. I'm gonna go 8.3 on matching the flavor, and drinkability on this. It is pretty sweet, so I'm gonna say it tastes great, but I don't think I could drink this all day. So I'm gonna go 8.1 on that. So it's lower than the peanut butter stout and the imperial java, because at least those mixed it up a little bit. But this is going to be a pretty high score for this beer. This is going to be so far for me, it ends up being the second highest beer that we've had.
Damn. So where's our little chart here?
You got drinkability and matching the flavor.
Drinkability, I'm going to 7.5.
Got it.
I don't know if I want to drink tons of these, but I mean, it's going to be something that's pretty easy to defeat.
One can's going down, no problem.
Yeah. Matching the flavor.
Now you said you got some earthiness.
Yeah, I'm going to go about a 7.1 on mine.
It probably doesn't.
Maybe this is one that I should pour into a glass, but I've tried to be consistent since I drank the first one straight out of the can.
Yeah, this might be where when I told you my breakfast this morning was a giant cinnamon roll, that might be coming into play right now. It's still on the old taste buds. So all I'm getting is sweet. That's it.
Another thing we need to figure out is sometimes if you take like a small sip, there's a flavor, but if you take like a big chunky sip, like a big gulp, it has a different taste to it.
Getting back to that cinnamon roll, I cannot take a big sip. I feel like I'm this close.
You all carved up right now?
The cinnamon roll's ready to come back up. All right, so Mike, my score actually comes out to 8.3, and Mike, yours comes out to 7.66, which with what we have graded here makes it the third best beer on your score out of the 12. And for me, that is now the second best beer. Even though it's so funny, we say drinkability, it's not that high. It's actually tied for the fifth best beer on my side, but for you, and then we score it out with the can and the marketability and the matching flavor, so it gets that little bump up.
Gosh, it really makes me want to go to the store and buy a little can of frosting. That's what it really makes me want to do.
Maybe that should be part of it. What is the beer emote? All right, so that's it, everybody. The 8.3 again for Matt on the Double Chocolate Stout out of the Rochester Mills 12 Days of Christmas Milkshake Stouts. Mike has the 7.66. Very good scores from either side. And Mike, I think now it's time to play your favorite game.
Is it? Is it time?
Who's
that? Pokemon! Yeah.
Just got to get some tunes for that. All right.
Starring head coach Jeff Blashill. If this is your first episode of the Brothers of Discussion, Red Wings Rant, Matt drinking beer, Mike also drinking beer. This is our favorite game. What we do is we cherry pick quotes from head coach Jeff Blashill, usually about a player. Matt, this is no exception. Jeff Blashill's talking about someone. Hey, thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon.
Brandon, I hope you're buckled in for another round of Who's That Pokemon. Now, Matt did lose last time, but Matt, he's ready to get off the schneid. I think I made this one just a little bit easier for him. Matt, as always, every week you get to choose if you'd like me to read it or Paul Woods. Matt, go ahead and bury your brother once again.
Well, my absolute favorite thing this week is that I made the ad this week of us playing Who's That Pokemon and me picking Paul Woods and you telling me to go F myself. That was wonderful. It really, I took the time to bleep out the F. I highly recommend, Mike, you go watch that. I know it's tough to find the time, but go find that video because hearing the bleep, I think, made it 1,000 times better. But Mike, I gotta go for another bleep because I'm going Paul Woods again. Give me that Paul Woods flavor.
Your own brother, throwing him in the fire.
By the way, Mike, somebody who works with Paul Woods all the time may have confirmed a conversation with us. I don't know if anybody wants to take a stab at who that might be. But come January,
Matt, in our interviews, we shot and we score. Yeah,
that's good. I like that you did that.
A little Ken Cal action, huh?
Oh, damn it! Don't say it.
Who else talks like that? Come on, let's score, man. Do you think Wait, line change. Yeah. Do we still have that graphic queued up?
We never had a graphic.
Cue it up. All right. Where's the guy in the truck? I feel like Jericho in the truck. Where's the guy in the graphics? Where was I going with this?
We're talking about
when we talk about we met Ron Simmons of WWE fame, and we said, do the thing, and he went, damn. Is there any shot we can get Ken Cal to say scores? Just a little falsetto.
Oh my God,
Will he? We'll save it. It'll be the last question, right? You don't want to open with that and have him click out of our interview, but is there a shot?
And I'm done.
Do we say it with love?
I'm gonna try.
We say it with love.
I will ask him. Can you give us a goal call for? Can you say Red Wings Rant shoots and scores? Maybe we can get that, and that'll be our drop. That'll be our new ad going forward.
My heart will be all aflutter if he'll do that.
All right.
All right. But before we talk to Ken Cal, friend of the show, Paul Woods is here to read yet another edition of Who's That Pokemon? Matt, you buckled in?
I'm ready.
All right, Matt's buckled in. Here we go. So, everybody, hello, it's Paul Woods here again, reading another exciting edition of Who's That Pokemon? It's the only reason I have to wake up on a Sunday morning. Here we go. So, Matt, here we go. Has Blank thrived? Head coach Jeff Blashill asked rhetorically. There was no media members in the room. This is just a little journal. He's just recording. He's just recording into his phone. Blank hasn't thrived. Has he done pretty good? Yes. If over the next course of games, whether it's tonight, he has a great game that helps us to say, well, maybe he's starting to really look like he's thriving, but we'll take it day by day. And Matt, for a little extra context, once again, because we don't have active hockey games, this is roughly 365 days ago.
Okay.
So right. Coach Jeff Blashill was talking about a player on the team, and I'm going to give you the quote one more time now that you have that context from 1 year ago.
I'm ready.
Has Blank thrived? He hasn't thrived. Has he done pretty good? Yes. If over the next course of games, whether it's tonight, he has a great game that helps us to say, well, maybe he's starting to really look like he's thriving, but we'll take it day by day.
Okay. I think
Matt
I think what you did here,
jump right into his Who's That Pokemon guess. I see him thinking about the roster. He's thinking about the ebbs and flows. He's thinking about December 13th, 2019. Look at him go.
So here's what just happened. I did pull up the roster this time because I wanted to feel it while you're reading it, and I realized I'm looking at the wrong roster because you already gave away who that Pokemon was. It was Eric Comrie, wasn't it? Because that's when we picked him up and he got his games in. He was talking about if he was doing well. He came in with that like a hot start and then fizzled off, right? Traded for Comrie. He got a shot. He got 3 games in.
Matt, the losing streak continues.
Damn it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It was right. Oh, come on.
Oh, no.
Damn it.
And that one will deflect harmlessly onto the boards. No goal for the Red Wings on that 5-on-none power play there. And Matt,
that's not Eric Comrie win the Stanley Cup.
He was such a weird name drop. Matt, it was Philip Zadina. This was a game right after he had a 3-point game, the youngest in Red Wings, third youngest in Red Wing history to have a 3-point game behind Yzerman, and who cares? He assisted on a couple of Fabry goals and got a goal of his own. And then basically...
And that's what he said?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Because
they forgot that.
They're talking about sending him because he kept hot potatoing up and down because, you know, there was so much a point of discussion whether or not to keep him on the active roster. And
you just made his roller coaster up and down.
Lose that year of eligibility.
Well,
all right. Well, that concludes another episode of Who's That Pokemon?
So and, I said there's no way he did Philip Zadina two effing shows in a row, and here we are. Losing streak continues.
Three shows in a row. That's my
when we first started doing this, I really, I started hot. I think we had a good, you kept saying the streak is alive because I was winning. Now it's too hard.
It's all right. There's a Pokemon out there. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, you keep picking Pikachu. Pick somebody else.
I mean, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here. I did pick Pikachu 2 weeks in a row, and you couldn't name drop him. I don't know why you went with the obscure Ching-Chilling. Nobody wants Ching-Chilling at this point, Matt. Sorry.
All right, well, I'm gonna get this all set up here for you, everybody, because we're gonna have at JFresh Hockey. It's Jack from JFresh Hockey joining us. We recorded this interview earlier, so unfortunately, you won't be able to ask any questions. But I still hope you guys enjoy it. It was my opportunity since we've already talked to Greg Wyshynski. Let's and not that Greg hates analytics or numbers, but I wanted to get a guy that is deep in the weeds, and you can check out everything that he's doing, and we're going to go through it right at the top of the interview. I'll give you guys the list of everywhere to find JFresh Hockey. But he was a lot of fun to talk to. Definitely a guy that likes to meld. Let's get some more fun in regards to hockey analytics, daily life. And I had a blast talking to him. I hope he comes back once the season starts rolling. What's funny, Mike, is that I was actually stalling there for a second so that we could I could find this.
Stretch.
I
Stretch.
forgot to actually look for it while I was stalling. All right. So I've got it up there. We'll go full screen in a second here, and then
It's got
we'll
his Dexter Loomis Henley on, everybody. Don't want to miss that.
Yeah, now you know when it was recorded. Recorded on a Wednesday. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of the show, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night. All right, here's the interview with Jay Fresh Hockey. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. He is the fresh, never frozen hockey analytics man, the creator of the player cards that you're probably stealing and retweeting on Twitter. His work has been used on The Athletic and Sportsnet. You can find him at jfreshhockey. I wonder if that gave it away on Twitter. And jfresh.substack.com. Support him on patreon.com/jfreshhockey. He is Jay Fresh Hockey. Should I call you Jay? Is that
Jack would probably be better. I'm not going to force you to. I'm not going to force you to say Jay Fresh over and over again. If it's the worst thing I could do.
No, that's fine. I love Jack. We'll jump. I mean, I'll be honest. I was training myself all morning to make sure I was getting that Jay Fresh. I started to wonder if it was J Fresh. It could have been any number of things. So I'm glad we're going to go in that direction. Like I told you, we'll jump into the icebreaker here. I want everybody to. I see it every day on Twitter, right? When you come out with some sort of analysis, if it doesn't quite make anybody's favorite team look amazing, they come back and try and clap back at you. So I want everybody to get to know you. Let's start with, what's your favorite holiday movie? What do you absolutely have to watch during the holiday season?
Oh, that's a great question. My favorite is the Muppet Christmas Carol. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, but
absolutely.
I got it's a tradition. Me and my girlfriend watch it every year. She and I always go back to our separate provinces over the holidays. So we always make a point to watch it kind of the day before we leave, because Michael Caine, you wouldn't think so, but he makes the best Scrooge out there. So I'd say that'd be my pick running away.
I have made the argument year after year that he deserved an Oscar nom, because he's Michael Caine every time. He is 1,000% in that role, and he's acting around Muppets. He is amazing in that movie. I'm quite envious though of you and your girlfriend, because that is a movie that my wife, she's not too keen on. She thinks it's a little too scary, which, I mean,
I think that's fair. I don't know how I watched it when I was a kid, because I was a total wuss when I was a kid when it came to movies. But for some reason, I think there were enough puppets in it to kind of offset any wussiness that I had going on.
The death scenes are very terrifying. So all right, so sticking with the holiday theme. Wonderful pick, by the way. That is it's that for me, and then Christmas Vacation. But second question here: how about candy? What are you making sure for the holidays you're grabbing? Are you a Reese's tree? Are you grabbing the holiday M&Ms?
No, we've always gone with the chocolate oranges in my house. Those like the British chocolate oranges, the one that you knock on the counter, and then the I guess in the commercial, the girl in the bath falls from the ceiling. Not counting on any of that, but we always make a point to grab those, and we got them a couple months early this year just in case. The whole COVID situation would get in the way.
That's a great answer, because so far I've gotten just repeats of the Reese's trees, but I hadn't even, that didn't even cross my mind. I gotta say, I probably haven't had one of those. How old am I? 32 now. I probably haven't had one of those in like 20 years. Whew.
Yeah, I'm not a big peanut butter and chocolate guy, so you're not getting a Reese's tree out of me.
Oh man. Yeah, I grew up getting those Santa. It's like a giant Reese's Santa, so it's one of those that gives you the diabetic shock when you hit that last bite. So yeah, I'd go to town on those suckers. But again, we're trying to build a rapport with our listeners. These are fantastic answers that we haven't gotten yet. So
there you go. If you have any Anglophile listeners, I've done you well with Michael Caine and Terry's Chocolate Oranges.
All right. So let's jump into your blog, your newsletter, and how you got that rolling. Because I tell people all the time, I started podcasting because I hate Detroit sports talk. It was one of those things where it was, all right, am I really going to spend every day fuming about this, or am I just going to try and produce my own work? So I wanted to ask, not how did you get started, but what was if you remember, what was the work, what was the piece, the analysis that made you so angry that you said, damn it, I'm going to do this myself?
Oh man, I don't know if I could specifically call anybody out there.
Don't have to throw anybody under the bus.
I think it mostly is just a lot of the stuff that I will write will be in response to stuff that I'm hearing just kind of ambiently. Like, it won't necessarily be like I read a specific piece that pissed me off, so I'm going to write a thing that's directly countering it. It's this discourse doesn't make any sense to me. Clearly it's wrong, and I need the ability to say why I think it's wrong in a format that I can express my arguments thoroughly enough that I'm not leaving anything out. So like in the case of like the first piece that kind of blew up was a piece about Drew Doughty, where I said that Drew Doughty has been terrible for the past 2 seasons and nobody really noticed because he was on the Kings. And I basically, the entire idea of that was to cover all my bases. So, because it was an article, I was able to get into how the rest of the Kings defense wasn't as bad as you might think based on the name recognition. I got my friend Jack Hahn, who used to work for the Leafs and the Marlies, to do some eye test analysis in there too. So I kind of had that base covered, and people responded well to it. But there were certainly some people who didn't. But because I had kind of covered all those bases, I could be immediately aware of who just read the headline and who actually had gone into the article and had some more reasonable critiques of it.
No, that's actually a great answer, because that always brings me into my own. If I ever dabble, which I wish I had more time. I think that's what we all wish for anything that we do. But I love that you put in there you needed to mix in the eye test, because that's something whenever I'm trying to teach someone how to like start a model or do some analytics work. So I've done some mainly outside of sports. It's been more for the corporate side and like from a marketing perspective.
Right.
But I'm always trying to teach, like, you can't, there's got to be a narrative. There's a story still mixed into the analytics. So you can't just report a number. You can't just create the decision based on that. There has to be some form of human element to it. Otherwise, I think you get more believability that way, right? Like,
for sure.
If there are so many people that do fight analytics, and I think focusing, like, the worst, if you had to prioritize, the worst thing you could do is just go by the eyeball test. The second best thing you could do is strictly analytics, but the absolute best thing you can do to get belief around, whatever community you're talking to, and also make sure that you're fully informed, is to do analytics. I would maybe say 60-40. It's like 60-40 analytics, 40% eyeball test.
Yeah, because I think that there's a lot of the time that people will say you have to mix the eye test and the analytics. A lot of the time people will kind of say that in bad faith. Like, they'll say that as in, they'll use it to mean, you have to use the eye test, but then sprinkle in the analytics if they agree with what your eye test says or something like that. And a lot of the time the people who you hear that from have no intention of actually like seriously engaging with any analytics that disagree with them.
Right.
But at the same time, like, you're 100% right. Like, an analytical argument has a million times more credibility if you can point to video or something like that and say, see, like, this is what I'm talking about. And then, like the analytics, especially kind of those macro level shot models and expected goals and stuff like that, they tell arguably what happened, but they don't tell how it happened. And that's something that you can really only do fully by watching games. And that's another reason why I kind of gone into the whole writing thing, is because you can't really get into that in a tweet. Like, you can easily post somebody's analytical results in tweet form, but you can't exactly kind of go through and explain how they happened in a lot of detail. And if you do, a lot of people probably aren't going to see it. So if you package them together, it kind of gives you a full product that has more credibility, and also will probably make it a lot smarter analysis than if you just kind of posted the output of a model.
Right, and I mentioned it before. Like I was just scrolling through your Twitter when I was getting ready for our interview here, and the folks that already have in mind like what your results should be. I mean, it's insane. I mean, the age that we're in right now, I don't want to talk politics, but I mean, there's statistical analysis for COVID, and somehow we're not following all those statistical analyses. So that type of thing, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. I think we've lost enough listeners talking about it on the regular episode, so we're not going to get into it with you. But it's just kind of that it's where every single world that lives on Twitter, and I mean like every little subsection of Twitter, still has that pushback on when there's a number and there's data analysis. They assume that there's some sort of bias, and it's just playing with numbers. And any hoozles. All right, I'm gonna make myself angry if I keep going down that line. But yeah, I just got to remind everybody to check out. Now, I think that's what I like most about your analysis, and I wanted to have you on a lot sooner. Just kind of. Yeah, I guess COVID got in the way. The Red Wings definitely become a harder team to analyze because, and this is something I wanted to ask you too. I went through somebody's model to project how many points we were going to have this year, and your model does a much better job of this, and we're going to talk about that too. But it's funny to me how hard it is to track a bad team through analytics. Maybe not funny, but more frustrating because there's so little there, and there's so much turnover and change, and then cross your fingers hope on like a prospect. Like how do you make that work? Like how do you work that into the analysis of, all right, well, this guy could be great, could be terrible. Where's the most important line that you're drawing to maybe make sure something's weighted in the right direction so that when you build out a team like the Red Wings, you're gonna, we are gonna be terrible this season, but there's some point total we're going to have by year's end. How do you get there with so much unknown up in the air for a team like that?
Yeah, so the way that I do it, and it's not the way that everybody does it. There are some people who kind of try to project it kind of fully, like as a team, like as a solid unit, or kind of projecting how lines will do in certain indicator stats. My thing is that I just go player by player. So I use Evolving Wilds wins above replacement stat, which is one of the points of that stat is to kind of isolate things out a little bit from player to player. And make sure that everybody's individual contributions are kind of being sussed out. And then I project those for next season by using kind of a 3-year sample weighted so that the more recent results are more important. And then adding an age curve to that. So basically using the research that they've done on how players age in terms of that metric, and then applying that so I can kind of add a little bit of an adjustment for how players might age, if they're getting better or getting worse, depending on how old they are. And then after that, it's just a matter of taking the depth chart of the team, which I generally will take from Cap Friendly unless they're super far off on something, and then just plugging it in and see what happens. And in the case of the Red Wings, like you said, when there are young guys coming in, that can obviously be a bit of an issue sometimes. A lot of the time, and especially for guys who kind of haven't hit that kind of 200 time on ice cutoff in the previous year, my default is just to set them to replacement level, because you really don't have any sense of whether a guy is really going to come in and be a huge difference maker. I mean, you can just look last year. Capo Caca was supposed to be like a brilliant top 6 forward right away, and he turned out to have arguably the worst season of the past decade.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to project, Moritz Seider to be, the next coming of Nicholas Kronwall right off the bat, and then it turns out that he's just not used to playing against the caliber of player that he'll be playing in the NHL, and it will all go to crap. So, I kind of set a safe baseline for that, and then Yeah, I've been fortunate enough. It kind of was a bit of a shot in the dark when I put it together, but I will say that even if some elements of Twitter take issue with certain outputs, generally I think it kind of passes the smell test in terms of where
Absolutely.
the best teams kind of generally end up at the top, and obviously these projections are always going to be super imprecise and vague. I mean, there's no injuries involved. Players have breakouts, players fall off a cliff.
Right.
It really is just kind of as much of an educated guess as I feel comfortable making, and I would hope a lot more reliable than if I just did what most people did and just kind of guess based on a hunch how different teams are going to do.
Right. Just give your list of playoff teams, like we see on Sportsnet and whatnot. All right. No, so I put my model together and I said, all right, well, this is dog shit because I came up with I think it ended with like 15 points for the Red Wings.
Right.
So in that regard, I just that's where we can kind of pivot into. So I'm building this roster, and the model I was using, I'm not going to bury it, but it is one that has some. It's got some traction on social media. I think people like this, these folks. So it's not something where I just pulled it out of my ass. But the likes of Bobby Ryan and Nemistikov were just not cutting it. It was something where this model still said, no, these guys are still going to be a negative impact on this team, even though we know it's going to be how do I want to put that? It's we're getting better by removing the abdicators, the absolute worst of the worst, which I also
Right.
saw you had on last year's one of your worst contracts. So we have to be doing something, right? Because now we don't even have that contract on the books anymore.
Yep.
But I asked you to at least think about, maybe you already have something in mind that you've already built, but do you see, or where do you see these guys like Nemistikov and Bobby Ryan improving the Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah, I think there's a general theme to what the Red Wings did in this offseason, which I'm a big fan of. You said be kind to the Wings. I honestly I feel a heck of a lot better about the Wings than I would have in June in terms of their ability to even compete in games next year. I think what they mostly did was they took players on their team who were a massive negative and they replaced them with guys who are, okay to actually pretty good. So, I wouldn't expect incredible play from Nemesnikov or Ryan. Like, they're not guys who I would have on a list of, if I was the GM, I wouldn't be actively seeking these guys out to play in my top 9 or especially my top 6. But I mean, if you're comparing them to who was previously available, I think that still is a pretty marked improvement for the Red Wings compared to who they had in the lineup last year. And, I think overall Red Wings fans won't have too much to complain about them compared to the guys who blazed the trail for them.
Yeah, we just had Greg Wyshynski last week, so I wanted to get your mind because I kind of look at Wyshynski as the narrative side, and then you're my analytics mind. So I wanted to get like you cover the entire NHL. So from your perspective, then things are getting better, and I think one of the things Wyshynski and I talked about last week was the like performance in the season is fine. But the other thing too is how much flexibility there is in this roster. So there's a lot of potential. Not only if these guys don't work out, they're just gone as unrestricted free agents, but we do have a lot of potential for trade movement as well. Do you see anybody on this team as like the number one is probably going to get traded or has some value, or do you think there's maybe some season that needs to be played before we can really put a thumb on any of those ideas?
Yeah, I admit that I did kind of look over the cap friendly, and if I'm being fully honest with you, I'm not seeing a lot that I feel would be a super appealing trade chip. Maybe some conditional pick guys, but the only guy who really stood out at me when I was looking over it was Nemeth, who I'm a decent fan of. Like, I think he acquitted himself pretty well for the Red Wings last year, all things considered. I think he like played like the toughest minutes and some of the biggest minutes and everything, which is not what you previously would have thought that Patrick Nemeth would be doing in the year 2020. So I could see him as a guy who, if the Red Wings are totally out of it, some teams would want to go after, and I think they'd probably be pretty happy with that. But other than that, I mean, looking at guys like Filppula and that kind of general caliber of player, I would imagine that not too many teams will probably be champing at the bit to grab those guys. But I mean, the thing is, they're poor enough players that I don't think the Red Wings would feel too bad about healthy scratching them or sending them out for a conditional pick if there was a young guy who they felt more comfortable playing in that role.
Yeah, we've been playing it on social media with our polls as to like, all right, let's say, like, we kind of have to paint the picture of like, let's say Bobby Ryan, he's gonna finish this season, if it was a full season, he's got 20 goals by the trade deadline. Let's say it's a miraculous season for Bobby. He's not hurt.
Right.
Then what do you want to trade for him? And we're kind of painting this picture where he's become a top 6 forward.
Right.
You see those issues. I think right now it's got to be, there's got to be some idea of a package. I know Bernier is going to be shopped, and I also anticipate, and I know this is tough to throw like a number behind, but we have to believe there's going to be some injuries to start this, because this sounds like they're really going to ramp this up quick, from COVID testing to you're in training camp to you're going to be checking guys on the ice. To that end, I think we're crossing our fingers too. But I like what you're saying. Like it makes a ton of sense. Like I think we have high expectations with all these short-term deals that we said, all right, there's 3 or 4 more first-round picks coming our way. You got to pull back. It's got to be second round. It's going to be tops. I don't think we're going to bamboozle another team with an Andreas Athanasiou getting 2 second-round picks coming back to us. But
I mean, when I said that they weren't really going to be able to get much on those kind of one-year deals, I admit that I wasn't really looking at the guys who they just signed in the offseason. So. Okay. I am, and we can talk about this a little more when we, in terms of kind of the Red Wings compared to other teams in the league. But I really like what Yzerman did with the blue line, in terms of, I think that he kind of got, if you were going to get 2 cheap bottom pair to middle pair defensemen, I think Troy Stecher and John Merrill are kind of the guys that you would want to go after. Like they are the thinking man's bargain bin defenseman from this free agency class, with a couple kind of extra who are still hovering around unsigned. But, in terms of the difference between guys like that and kind of Madison Bowie and Trevor Daley and that kind of class of defenseman, like that is just a massive improvement for 2 guys. I mean, Merrill has really, really strong defensive numbers lately. Troy Stecher has always kind of acquitted himself as a very solid 2-way kind of number 4, number 5 guy on a pretty crummy team with the Canucks. And, you get them really cheap on the bottom pair. Sure, you can flip them. But at the same time, I mean, how long do you really want to have this team be embarrassing themselves night after night? What you would really rather have is, you like, this team has enough, issues and holes in it that you can keep yourself in the top end of the lottery while still improving them by a huge margin. And I think that Yzerman has kind of threaded that needle pretty well in terms of making sure that Dylan Larkin isn't going to get embarrassed every night while he's wearing the C. But at the same time, they're not exactly going to compete for a division title. Right.
I think the important thing too is that that free agent, I don't know if we want to go into the Golden Knights territory of free agency sort of damning your next season, but that big splash will come. I think it'll be 3 to 4 years is kind of where we're gauging everything. So that's where this was such an amazing free agent period, was that it wasn't anything where we've picked up another Franz Nielsen contract where now we have to play the game. Well, when this contract ends, then we can start thinking about other improvements through free agency. That's why I like it. And I like that you brought up Stecher, because the more I look into what he's been able to do, the more I fall in love. And then, of course, everybody started coming out with their expansion draft stuff, and he's on the top of everybody's list for him to be picked up by the Kraken. So it's one of those things where I absolutely agree. Like, Stecher looks to be one of the bigger steals, especially in regards to somebody that could have just gotten for being a restricted free agent, just could have gotten that offer and instead hits the free agent market and becomes a Red Wing almost instantly. Like that one feels good, but then immediately immediately switches to scary with the Kraken coming up. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when the guy that the expansion team takes from you is your depth free agency signing,
Right.
you know, I feel like you can't really it can't break your heart too much when you think about where teams are, like the Wild or even where the Penguins might be.
Right.
You know, if they do take Stetcher, that will be a shame. But I feel like even if they theoretically wanted to keep him, I feel like it would not be too rich in terms of draft picks, considering the quality of defensemen that will probably be available for Seattle to take. So I think all in all, it's just kind of an unremittent W for Steve Yzerman in terms of just taking his defense from, you know, maybe the worst blue line of the past decade to at least one that, you know, in my projections, you know, I kind of have teams ranked in different areas. And I think that they were kind of in that like 24th, 23rd range, which is certainly not where they would have been last season. So that's a big improvement there.
Well, the conclusion there is to keep Stetcher at arm's length. Everybody, don't buy those jerseys. Just make sure, don't fall in love. Don't.
Yeah, if you're buying a jersey that isn't Dylan Larkin, you're probably going to have a bad time.
Well, we've got Anthony Mantha, I think, is on the table.
Mantha's a good one too.
Just seems like everybody else is like, all right, well, let's wait a couple years. Then you can get those new crappy reverse retro all white and gray jerseys.
Yeah, there you go. Or you could buy a practice jersey from 2007 and get basically the same design.
Exactly. So we already talked about how your word model was built for the season, or you touched on it. What I think I want to pivot into a different question here, because I think everybody's probably, let's see, have we teased in any way that this is a playoff team? Absolutely not. No. But who do you think, if the Red Wing fans are going to need somebody come playoff time, who's that team they should latch on to now? And I could steal a couple ideas just looking at your model here, but I'm not asking you to pick a Stanley Cup contender, but who do you think is going to be that team that's the most fun to watch? Maybe, I think if you look around the league and you're trying to find another game to watch, you want to see some high scoring, and if you're going to be cheering for one of those teams, you're hoping that they're going to score more than the other.
Are you trying to trick me into suggesting that Red Wings fans cheer for the Colorado Avalanche? Because it really sounds like that's where you're taking me.
Damn it! All right, that was absolutely where I was going with that. But yeah, I mean, I could not argue with that. Like I think I've written an article about how that rivalry is dead and buried, and it ended with the last outdoor game where we beat Colorado in Colorado outside. So this was supposed to be their big time, and Patrick Roy was the coach. So it was just one of those where it was like the final nail in the coffin. Boom, boom, done. But I mean, this is a team. I rooted for them, to be completely honest. In our little playoff this summer, I just you can't get around it. They're so goddamn fun to watch.
Yeah, no, there's like a couple teams that stand out. I think based on how the divisions have been realigned, because the Avalanche have been in, if not an incredibly tough gauntlet. I mean, like people are kind of sleeping on St. Louis now because of the playoffs and Pietrangelo and all that. But I mean, like Colorado didn't win their division last year. St. Louis did. But now Colorado has been moved to, I think, what is indisputably the weakest division in the NHL, which is the Pacific Division. And I mean, there are teams that you can beat up on in that division. And I have a feeling that unless something goes horribly wrong for them, they probably will be. And I think that maybe there's more reason for optimism for some of those Pacific teams than the WAR model kind of suggests, because the WAR model is based on past results, and it's based on especially last year's past results. So if you were a team like San Jose or like Anaheim or LA that really struggled last year, you're not going to have a good time when it comes to projecting future points. But that doesn't necessarily mean, I think people always kind of take it when you make a projection like that you're kind of self-deluded into thinking that you have perfectly predicted in iron what is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I said a couple months ago, I could see, the Anaheim Ducks suddenly having that top four click and Trevor Zegras superstar, and they managed to sneak into the playoffs. I mean, if they can do it, anybody else can. So I would say that kind of the 56 game season is kind of the perfect opportunity for you to look outside your division because your team's not going to be playing them, and just find a team that you find likable that has a decent chance of contending, and see what happens there. Because I think you're probably right that it would take, I think, a Vezina campaign from, well, maybe even 2 Vezina campaigns from Grice and Bernier to get them in the mix.
And that's I like that idea too. The 56 game season, really mixing up everything that we think we know about hockey, because the season might not be long enough for Buffalo to have a 10-game winning streak and then to play themselves out of the playoffs. I'm really looking forward to them starting the season 10-0, and then just seeing if how far below 500 are they going to have to play before it's they're finally out again. But no, I think this is all I wanted to talk about in regards to the Detroit Red Wings, and I do like that I'm sure some Red Wings fans are happy that they don't absolutely have to root for the Colorado Avalanche like I will be. But is there anything else that I mentioned at the top of the show, all the different places that we could find you? Is there anywhere else that I missed when I gave you the intro there? I do want to make sure everybody again here's that patreon.com/jfreshhockey.
Yeah, and I'll give that another little plug, just because we're kind of talking about the roster generator and the standings projections and all that. So the model that comes from, the War Roster Builder, is actually, it's available to anybody who's a $5 subscriber on my Patreon. And it doesn't only give you the chance to kind of put together a lineup for this year, so you could see what happened if the Red Wings decided to trade for Connor McDavid somehow. You could see how that would impact their standings position. But you can also actually go back to previous seasons and kind of put together teams from then. So you can see, how the 2008 Red Wings, looked like they were one of the best analytical teams of all time. You can see how they looked in that case. You can see what would happen if they had managed to lock up Marian Hossa long term. You can see if they signed Yager. There's all kinds of different things that you could do, and you can kind of go through from any of the last 13 seasons and put that together. So if you're one of those kind of what if kind of fans that like to think about those kind of counterfactuals, then you might have some fun with that.
All right, you're going to be seeing at least one more deposit of $5 from me. I did not realize that. So yeah, you're going to see one more. Definitely, everybody. If you like playing those games like I do, you should definitely check that out. So I mean, if I'm having as much fun as I do just seeing your analysis, I think we're all going to have some fun playing around in there too. So everybody, again, that's patreon.com/jfreshhockey. Find all the analysis at jfreshhockey on Twitter, and jfresh.substack.com, and subscribe to the newsletter. So again, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I hope you had some fun. And I hope to have you on again once the season gets rolling, so we can actually dive into what's going on. What do we actually look like a month in, something like that.
Yep, no, it sounds good to me. Hope you can make your wife watch Muppet Christmas Carol with you at least once before the season ends.
Oh, it's happening. It's definitely happening. All right, have a great holiday.
You too.